Hi guys, this is part 1 of our breakdown of Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Wagwan breadcrumbs, and welcome to the podcast. Hello, we are Craig. Would you like to take the honors?
I can do the first bit and you can do the second bit. So we're film
Shrapnel, bruv.
Film shrapnel, yeah. It took us 5 recordings to finally get to that one. So many names we came up
there.
with, and they were taken or just a little bit different. It's like, oh, come on, man. Yeah. So this is what we are.
It's been a long journey, but we've reached the destination.
Yeah.
We're there now. And we couldn't be happier to be there.
Yeah, we're moving. Shall we say what we're doing today?
Oh, I love how organized we are. Yeah, why not? Guys, but ladies and gentlemen, our fellow compatriots, film lovers and listeners, Craig is not a film buff in terms of superheroes. He doesn't watch many.
I don't.
And he doesn't watch many at all. So I said to Craig, let's watch a divisive superhero film that I love, that everyone else hates, Batman versus Superman. So what happened, Craig?
I ended up watching Zack Snyder's Justice League by accident. And
you condemned us.
And then you were like, oh crap, now I have to watch a 4-hour film.
Yeah, especially I'd already watched Batman versus Superman, by the way, because I was excited to watch it. I was like, oh, I really like this one. And wasted effort. And then I had to watch 4 hours of, well, let's get into I watched this film when it first hit streaming. I was quite excited because I really didn't like the Joss Whedon one, which you also haven't seen, which is good. I think it's good that you haven't got all the context of the real world problems that this movie had.
I'm going right in raw.
Yeah, you got right in absolute barebacked it. You barebacked it. So yeah, it's kind of interesting to find out what your opinion is going to be. But when I first watched it, I quite enjoyed it because it's a big improvement on the 2017 version. But after watching it this time, fuck. This is a fucking boring movie for me. I don't know about you.
Well, see, I'll tell you something. Like you said earlier, I'm not too big on superheroes. It's not that I hate them or have anything against them. I've just never had a real strong reason to watch them. Like, my general perception is that Marvel films are better than the DC ones. And I'm not really a big fan of Superman.
In the court of public opinion, that is pretty much the consensus.
Yeah. But I do really like Batman. I've always liked Batman. The last Batman I really liked. I don't know who directed it. I can't remember. The Batman with Pattinson. And let's also tell the guys who are listening. Reed. Was that his name? Okay. We also mentioned there will be spoilers, obviously, because I don't know how long we'll talk for. An hour or 2 hours or something. So if you want to actually watch it without that shit, probably don't listen to us talk about it.
That's a pretty good disclaimer to put there. I feel like that should be a disclaimer at the head of every episode we record. But if you haven't seen the movie, why are you listening? To be fair, go watch the movie.
Well, you recently mocked me for watching the pitch meetings, guy, or for films I hadn't seen.
Well, how you're not going to get any of the jokes if you haven't seen the film.
Anyway, back to Zack Snyder's Justice League.
So Snyder's Justice League, and so there is another one that exists, Craig, that you haven't seen. Another version of this movie, and it is vastly different. And we're going to need to discuss it a little bit, even though you haven't seen it. Yeah.
I was so stupid when I turned this film on. So the first thing that happens is Superman is being killed by a bad guy I don't know. And immediately I was thinking, oh, fuck, there's some shit that happened before this that I don't know about. Is that going to be a problem? And yeah, but I still watched it, not knowing too much, and I was still able to kind of catch on to most of it. Yeah, like it was just like character development. Like each one has their own like how did they get to where they are? You know, you have an
Yeah.
Aquaman movie, you have plenty of Superman movies, Batman movies. So my taste in superheroes, by the way, is like I really like Watchmen, which also was directed by Snyder. I recently found out.
Yes.
But to be honest, when I compare the two, I feel the Watchmen is just, I don't know, so much more fun to watch and more interesting. And like this one seems very, well, maybe it's also because he wants to stick to what the characters are known for, the actual story. But I don't really know the story of Justice League, so
there's a lot of stuff that you have. A bit of context for you, Craig. So the previous film was Batman v Superman, where they're being manipulated by Lex Luthor to fight each other, and then Lex Luthor's backup plan is to make a big monster, and then the big monster, Superman sacrifices himself to kill the big monster. Now, in that opening scene, you'll see Superman screaming.
yeah. It's a backup plan. Get them to fight each other, and if that fails, big monster. Like it's just,
I know.
The first plans were a lot better than the second plan. I'll tell you that.
Well, I mean, look, it was the contingency plan, you know, in case they became best friends, which it did happen. They become best friends because their mum is both called Martha. You really should have watched Batman v Superman, man. It's so funny with the Martha scene. They literally stop fighting because their mother's name is the same. Not the same woman, just they share a name. Yeah. And that's that. Now we're best friends. So it's his death scream, the cry of the last Kryptonian, the death cry of the last Kryptonian wakes up these mother boxes. And they're the MacGuffins of the film that everything's sort of centered around. These three mother boxes that I can hear you clicking.
Clicking.
Yeah,
I have notes on those mother boxes.
So these three mother boxes are, you know, activated and calling to, you know, some big, you know, power that has been unseen up until this point. Now, there's so much of this film that I hate.
Go on, tell us.
These mother boxes are one of them. It's just so dumb. Like, I mean, look, we'll get into it, but I think it's the first mother box that Steppenwolf appears at, and all the Amazonians are there, like ready. I mean, it's already like wobbling and like reacting. Like the moment the scream hits it, it starts reacting. But then all the Amazonians are like there watching it, like with bows drawn and shit. And it's like, well, why are you expecting this to be happening? Like, you're not telling us why you know this is happening. Whereas everyone, like Atlantis, they weren't expecting it. You know, so why did the Amazonians know to worry about the mother box? I don't know. It was just a cool looking scene. I think there's a lot of style over substance. It's a bit janky, I feel, this film. But the first time I watched it, I did like it because it is a massive improvement on the 2017 one.
Yeah.
I would say it's a big difference that I noticed straight away. The opening scene in the Joss Whedon one, or one of the earliest scenes in the Joss Whedon one, is Batman fighting a parademon, and it's not a bad scene actually. It's kind of fun watching Batman fight one. But in the Snyder cut, Batman doesn't find out about the next threat until maybe an hour or two into the film. I think maybe an hour into the film, Wonder Woman says the threat's already here. Because he's like trying to find the Justice League, and then Wonder Woman's like, well, we need them now because we got these aliens here. So I thought it was interesting like how different this film is to the Joss Whedon one. You know, I thought it was just going to be a different cut with some extra scenes. No, it's basically a different film.
Yeah, yeah. There was some. I also have some notes on these mother boxes, by the way.
Yeah, go on, hit me with your
So
mother boxes.
it just makes it feel like I haven't seen the any much of the Marvel films, but I know about the Infinity Stones and what's the guy called who Josh Brolin plays, the big guy with the
Thanos.
yeah. So I know about this, and it felt so similar to that. This idea of everybody
Yeah.
uniting.
Mm.
There's some crazy bad guy from outer space who needs to collect something to destroy everything, and I felt it just seems like the same setup.
I
And
mean, it's interesting you say that because I also have pointed that out in my notes. And I also think it's interesting that Snyder had planned to do this first. I feel like
ah,
Snyder kept getting beaten by Marvel because of delays that he was put through with with DC, even on Batman v Superman. And I feel like Marvel kind of sort of snuck in first when he'd already planned to do some stuff, even down to the structure of this film. I'm going to give you a spoiler alert, Craig, for those Avengers films with Thanos in.
mhm,
Uh, but structurally, Snyder always wanted, well, at least this is what I've read online, but Snyder wanted to end this film with the Justice League losing to Darkseid. And the sequel would be the Justice League trying to band together, fight, to rise against the oppressor and eventually getting Flash to turn back time. And like
mm,
reset and try again. And that would have been across two films. That was what I hear is the original intention, and that's basically Avengers. I don't want to spoil too much, but I've just spoiled it.
mm,
But yeah, like I feel like Snyder keeps getting a lot of hate for doing the same shit that Marvel does before Marvel, but Marvel just does it in a way that people, get, I guess. I mean, Marvel isn't great either. People love Marvel, and I'm like, if you love Marvel, surely you must love DC as well, because number one, they're two sides of the same coin. They're the same shit. It's the same shit, just one's darker than the other one. You've got a more adult themed alternative. You've got the kid friendly one with the Marvel films, and then you had the Snyder, more adult friendly Justice League. And I think
mhm,
that's fine. I don't know why people want to wanted to water Snyder down. And I think it's only been proven more with the success of the new Batman film, where they've just doubled down on dark. And I'm like, people do like, and Joker as well. People do want dark superheroes. If there is a market for it, and Batman absolutely fits and fills that market. But maybe people are a bit annoyed that people like Superman are also within this tone when he's usually the sort of the sun side of DC, and Batman is the night, the moon.
mm.
So uh, maybe there's an element of that, like not my Superman, sort of thing. Um, but I feel like they're good films in their own right. Like if you consider the Marvel films good films in their own right, then I feel like by default these films are good. If I'm
Yeah.
honest, I
Well,
think
like
there's not much to separate them.
the first thing I was thinking about when I started watching this was like, yeah, like I said earlier, I'm not a big fan of Superman. He's just too powerful, and it just feels a bit like everything's too easy. And
Hmm.
he just feels very dated in comparison to other
Yeah,
superheroes. So when I saw that it started with him dead, and the main point of the story for most of the films to bring him back to life, like that's actually quite good. And they even kind of acknowledge that the other superheroes are not much. They're not really anything apart from him. He pretty much makes the whole thing. He's basically
yeah.
invincible. The other guys just have some powers. Uh, so I thought, okay, that actually makes it kind of watchable. that makes it more enjoyable. Because if Superman was there from the beginning, it just wouldn't feel kind of worth it. Just to do whatever he wants. With the mother boxes, right? So there's a whole thing in the film. This kind of flashback to thousands and thousands of years before, where all the races of Earth fight these guys, and they weren't able to put the mother boxes together, and they had to run away. And they actually kind of surprised when they realized that Earth is the planet that fought back. And I thought, shouldn't it be obvious by the fact that they have the mother boxes? Like, surely, probably all other planets would have been destroyed. There shouldn't be any like random mother boxes left on other planets. Earth, if it has them, should be the one that fought back. So that felt kind of like, I don't know why that was even a thing, really. It should have just been obvious from the start that this was the planet.
Well, you know, it's kind of, it's weird, right? Because it's like Darkseid is looking for the anti-life equation.
What is that, by the way? Because I didn't get that from the film.
So the anti-life equation, it's within the comic books. It's what Darkseid needs to basically take over everything. It's his Infinity Stones. It's essentially. I mean, I'm not very good with comic lore, but I know it's some unachieved. You know, it's some unknowable power that basically, you know, unravels reality and existence and some such like that. You know, any MacGuffin. Think of any superpower MacGuffin, and that's it. You know, it's you know, it's the root of all power, and it's evil power. It's naughty power. But this is the thing. He's looking for the anti-life equation. Although, again, you didn't know that, which means loads of other people didn't know that, which means it's bad storytelling. You're relying on knowledge of the comics and shit, which is not good filmmaking.
Any discussion in the previous DC films about this anti-life stuff? Or...
No. The anti-life is only introduced in this film, and they don't explain it at all. But obviously they would have explained it, you know, with more depth in a sequel, which is probably good storytelling, actually. Maybe now to think about it. But the thing is, it does rely on the audience knowing something about the comic books or cartoons. But this is the thing. He's looking for the anti-life equation, but he should know that it's already on Earth, because we have this flashback to where he had this battle on Earth and he had to fly away and retreat. And then he left the mother boxes. So he knows the anti-life equation is on Earth, unless they don't explain why he doesn't know. Like, there could be a reason, but it's not addressed at all. So it's like, why are you looking for the anti-life equation if you've already been there? That doesn't make sense. So yeah, there's some incontinuities there for me.
Speaking of oh my god, I can't even say that word. Say it again.
Incontinuities.
There we go. I'll struggle with that now. With Cyborg, I felt there was the scenes establishing him. I felt, what is going on with the time here? Because so you basically, I think this is the first film with Cyborg in, right, of the DC films.
Yeah,
they explain a lot of him.
Absolutely, yeah. This is his this. It feels like two films squished together: a Justice League movie and a Cyborg origin movie.
Yeah, and so it just felt, I don't know, like the stuff with the recorder. So we know that it's been about a year since his mother died, and he was in the car crash, and he became disfigured, and his father turned him into this robot, Cyborg even, with the help of the mother boxes. And so then there's this whole thing with there's a scene with the recorder where his father puts it on the desk, a counter, and he listens to it. And it feels, the way it's set up, it feels like this is immediately after when he comes home, after he's been modified into what he is now, right?
Yeah.
And then later we find out when he returns home that the recorder is still there, crushed. So this was just very recently, but it feels, the time felt very strange, as if like, I don't know, did you get the same feeling, like it was just after he'd been created even?
Yeah, I think I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure. I don't remember losing track of his timeline.
Well,
But
not
but
losing track so much, but it just felt a bit confusing. Like, how much time has gone by? Where exactly are we in this kind of like group of flashbacks about
hmm.
Cyborg? It just felt a bit
Yeah,
funny.
and I recall the scene. I don't remember getting confused by it. But I've seen it before though, to be fair.
Mm,
And yeah, and I saw it when it first came out. Maybe that helped, to be fair.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, look, don't get me wrong. I think because the film is so long, I think even the film sort of loses track of its own timekeeping.
yeah.
You know, I
But
feel like that last hour is, you know, or maybe let's say the last half hour where it's a scene after scene after scene. They just do the Lord of the Rings ending, which is loads of different endings.
yeah.
What were you going to
But
say?
well, actually, I do quite like how they did the ending with the tape recorder
Hmm.
and how it ties things together. I mean, that's a
Yeah.
bit. That's a nice bit of storytelling there. Um, but actually, I'll tell you this. So we've been joking a bit before that the film was a bit boring. Uh,
Yeah, it's boring.
but, but I think
You-
the fun part of the film is the ending where they're setting up a potential sequel. It looks like.
Well, look, unfortunately, I don't actually think that's a potential sequel. I think that's an alternate reality of what would have happened.
Yeah.
Or maybe not. Well, look again. So, look, in Batman v Superman, we actually have a flash forward to that time, and Batman has this vision of the future where Superman has gone bad and he's been taken over by the anti-life equation,
Oh,
and
see, more things I didn't know about.
yeah, and he's been sort of doctored by Darkseid to be like a baddie, and he literally kills like loads of people in front of Batman. He's about to kill Batman, and then he wakes up, and then he gets this message from Flash from the future. So they he Snyder did want to have the future in a movie, like this sort of apocalypse future. So yeah, okay, maybe it was a potential setup for a sequel, but
It could work in my opinion as a sequel. I think they could do it.
you should watch fucking the scene from Batman v Superman. It is amazing. Like you I defy anyone to watch the flash forward sequence in Batman v Superman and not love it. It is incredible. Like, there's so much you needed to watch before this
I
podcast, Chris.
know. I know. I'm sorry.
And I actually think Snyder does a really good job with Batman v Superman. And there's some scenes in this film that I still think are really good. I still think that Zack Snyder needs to make a Batman movie. I think he handles Batman really well. I think the action that you see from Batman in the last film and in this film, I think Snyder just knows how to shoot Batman fighting. It's great,
Mm.
especially in Batman v Superman. Like Snyder, Warner Brothers, please let Snyder make a Batman solo film. It would be so good, and it would be comic book Batman as well. It wouldn't be like the Nolan Batman or the new Batman where it's like we've got to make it realistic. You know, it'd be no. This is a comic book Batman, and you know, I
Mm.
think we need a comic book Batman sometimes, but maybe one that doesn't shoot people. That's been a big uh,
Yeah.
criticism of these films. But I don't mind Batman picking up a gun. It just means this Batman's darker.
Yeah. It's funny when you think about him being human sometimes, like just too human.
Yeah.
Like there was quite a few times I noticed in the film, whenever the superheroes are moving location, Batman was always the last to arrive, and I always found that really funny. Is because like he has to walk everywhere. All the other guys,
Exactly.
the other guys have other ways of getting around, and I found that very funny actually. And there was a couple of naff scenes. Now I'm remembering. Like there's a bit where most of them they meet up in some place in Gotham, uh, I can't remember why actually now. It's
Or to
before
speak
Aquaman.
to Gordon.
Maybe it was something underground. It had a huge like shaft that led to the surface, and I think at some point the water breaks and all this water starts flooding in, and Aquaman saves them.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. So there's this bit where they meet up and then they just start walking upstairs, and I was just thinking, this looks so lame.
Yeah.
Seeing them walk upstairs, it feels really funny. And then after that, there's this whole thing where they have to jump across this bridge. Okay, let's see how everyone jumps over bridges. Oh, Batman's going to use his thingamajiggy that shoots a thing that sticks into the building and he's a jump across. And then
Grappling hook.
yeah, there we
Come
go.
on.
There we go. I don't know these terms. I like each one has their own way. It's like, yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, they can all jump over gaps. It just seemed a bit silly.
Yeah, I know. This film does fall prey to a lot of that. Like I did write down somewhere in my notes about the slow motion moment in the climax where they all just sort of are there in one shot together, and it just sort of slows down, and you see this really sort of uh uninspiring shot of them all together, but it's meant to be really amazing. Like you can tell they incredible, and it's really naff. Like, yeah, I had remembered this film to be better than it is. It's not as good as I remember.
I think because you just it was so much better than the previous one, you didn't think
Yeah,
about these things.
yeah, this is it. Like, yeah, the previous one really was proper awful. Like, I can't actually put it into words, Craig. Like, you said there's a couple of naff scenes in this film. I promise you, all the worst bits of this film were in the other film.
No, no.
Although there are some fucking bits I have some massive problems with in this cut.
Tell me.
Like, right, hang on. Where's my note? Where's Aquaman? Hang on, I've got so many fucking notes and I've drawn pictures all over them like an
You've
idiot.
drawn pictures on your notes.
Oh, I'm a doodler. I'm a doodler, man.
That's how boring this film was for you.
Oh, I really found this. No, this film was so boring that it took me that I fell asleep twice in, and you know, yeah, I found this film really fucking boring. If I'm honest, when it gets all actiony, it's great fun, but but it's fucking slow. But you've got this scene with Aquaman in the bar, and Bruce. This is quite early on, and Bruce Wayne's there to like convince him to be a member of the Justice League, and you know, I remember the trailer for this film. This scene looks so much better in the trailer. So it already, like, I don't remember watching it back. I was like, this is nowhere near as good as the scene that they used in the trailer. I don't get why they didn't just use that cut. And then,
can I say something about that quickly? I watched the what's his name, the pitch meetings guy quite a lot, and in some of the films he does talk about how some scenes and some catchphrases and stuff I literally just probably put there just for the trailer. I think he said that in a Jurassic Park 2. So many of Jeff Goldblum's lines sound like they're designed. Just you can grab that for the trailer, that for a trailer.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, like that's natural. Yeah, of course.
But the trailer, the potential trailer, shouldn't dictate what the film should be about.
No,
right?
what I'm saying. But what I'm saying, like, because, well, I suppose a lot of those lines were sort of trailer made. But the thing is, the takes that they used for the trailer were better takes than the ones that they actually used in the film, which is really weird. It's like, why use a worse take for the film itself and just use the good take for the marketing? Just use the good take across both.
Snyder disagrees with you.
Yeah, he does. Or maybe, well, yeah, he does. But yeah, you also have this really fucking dumb bit right after where him and Aquaman are talking outside. You've got Aquaman flat out calling, Bruce Wayne, you dress like a bat, you're Batman. And you're like, whoa, who does that? Who drops a man's alter ego out in public like that? Who does that? No, but you know what I mean? Like, on the one hand, I'm kind of appreciate that Jason Momoa is calling Batman out for actually dressing up like a bat. Like, do you not like a
Yeah.
guy saying to Batman, "You're insane for doing that"? Like, do you not see how fucking mental that is? And he's like, well, don't out a man like it. Like, don't. Only Alfred knows. Like, calm down. Like, he doesn't want people knowing. Like, dude, I thought that was. Yeah, I had mixed feelings about that scene. But the worst part of that scene is that fucking song. That song is not in the Joss Whedon cut, and it should not have made it into this cut. You know the song I'm talking about?
Well, they start singing in Icelandic or something.
Yeah. Fuck, that's shit. Why the fuck did that make it in? And it went on way too. Okay, you want to sing a little bit? All right. But then it's like fucking 3 minutes. It's like, why? Just cut already. Cut away. You could have just let them start singing, and then you cut to Bruce Wayne turning away, and then you cut to like a far off, like a landscape shot, and then you hear like the singing is like in the distance now, and then you just see Bruce Wayne walking through the snow back to the bat plane or something like that. So it's like, okay, dude, that's you don't even need that much. But like, if you wanted to the song, you could have very quickly still got a good shot out of it, and it wouldn't have dragged on, and you could have added something else in there to make it not just feel like we're watching people singing Icelandic for fucking 3 minutes. Like, yeah, it was just a bit weird how the film stopped to have this moment.
Maybe we need the lyrics of that song to understand it. Maybe there's a deeper meaning that we didn't see. Who knows? But yeah, I do agree with you.
That's worth looking up, actually.
I was actually thinking at the beginning of the film. So I'm looking at the little credits that pop up, like who's who. I'm very impressed with the cast, by the way. We should talk about that in a bit. But I did see Christopher Nolan's name as a producer, and I instantly started to see the film through that lens, and I started to think about actually the beginning of the film was very Game of Thronesy, like when Batman's on a horse going over these hills in Iceland, and I started to think about Warner Brothers stuff, HBO stuff, but it didn't. That's the first thing that came to my mind, but it didn't last too long. Actually, it moved on pretty quickly from that. And I will say about Jason Momoa, I think he does a good job of making Aquaman cool, because I think Aquaman can be hard to make cool. Because the first thing I think about when I think about Aquaman is the Deep from The Boys. And this is such a joke, man. What can you do if you're not in the water? What the fuck can you do?
I'll tell you what, Aquaman, when I think of Aquaman, I think of Kanye West in that episode of South Park where he's a gay fish. And because this is it, like that is, but Aquaman is just a bit always been considered the naff DC character. His power is he can breathe underwater and talk to fish, But yeah, you're absolutely right. Jason Momoa makes Aquaman supremely cool. Like when I first watched the Joss Whedon one, and we see Aquaman more, I was excited for an Aquaman movie because I like Momoa. I think he's super charming, super charismatic. And I think the other characters that they set up Willem Dafoe, Amber Heard, who we'll talk about, I guess. But they set up a lot of characters for the movie. I was pretty pumped for the Aquaman movie, and I don't love it, but I do like it a lot, the Aquaman movie. I like it a lot. I just don't love it.
I will say that with Aquaman, I thought it was a bit. This is one of my stupid things that I'm thinking of is whenever they needed to talk underwater. Okay, let's make an air bubble and let's talk.
Well,
it just kind of took away from it a bit. It just felt a bit, I don't know, silly. They should have just been able to talk underwater. If they live underwater, just let them talk underwater. Why the fuck do they need air?
So you make a very good point. In fact, your point is so good that they already have addressed it in the Aquaman movie. So, because obviously this film was filmed in like 2016. A lot of these scenes were filmed in 2016. People had criticized that, so they can just speak underwater in the Aquaman movie.
They should, and yeah, because you imagine a whole film like that, where
Every
every time
time
to
we want to
speak,
talk,
fuck me. Yeah,
yeah,
I
that
thought
would.
that was weird.
Although it would have been kind of interesting to see how Zack Snyder would have tackled it, because he would have
Maybe, yeah.
realized very quickly what he's like. He's written himself into a box. He's written himself into limitations, and it's like, okay, how would you do? How are you going to deal with it? How are you actually gonna work around it? Like every interior shot underwater, but it's like in out. It's because it's inside. You can breathe. So when you're swimming outside, you can't talk. Like, yeah, how would he have done it? It would have made it a very different film.
Yeah. Shall
Anyway,
we? Shall we keep talking about characters or stuff we
well,
don't like or things we do like? What direction
well,
shall we take this in?
well, I just want to point out one thing, really. Like
Yeah,
it's just in the forefront of my mind right now. Is do you reckon that terrorist cell that Wonder Woman stops at the bank? Do you reckon
yeah.
that was meant to be the IRA, and then they weren't allowed, so they had to rewrite it?
I didn't even think about that. I that went on so
Because
it's like that happened so early on, and it just didn't lead anywhere. I assumed that it had something to do with the bigger story, but yeah, actually, it's just
no,
forgotten about, isn't it? I actually found that scene very weird. I don't know if it had anything to do with the RAA because it seemed a bit like they had some bigger goal, but it just seemed kind of too vague, didn't it? Um, but
yeah,
that was a very
it was
weird
vague, but
scene.
it was in England. It was in England, and I was like, oh, maybe it's the IRA, like, or maybe they're trying to be the IRA, or they're not
Mm,
allowed to say the IRA, but it is the IRA. I don't know, maybe.
I don't know. There was rules about that before. About I
Yeah,
think
that's what.
yeah, I know that for example, what's the main party in Northern Ireland? The Catholic one, Sinn Féin. Sinn Féin.
Yeah,
I can't
I don't
pronounce it.
know.
I'm really bad at pronouncing things these days. I know that back in the day, they were not allowed on the radio for a long, long time because of their connections with the RAA and stuff like this. And now they're
Hmm.
like seen as like the top dogs there. So I don't know. But yeah, that whole scene in the bank I found a bit weird. What is that
Well,
with
it's
that
just meant to
music?
set. It's just meant to set up Wonder Woman, and
It
yeah, I know
is.
I've got notes about that music as well.
That
The
music
music.
is very shit. It's really
Well,
crap. Like,
which part of the music? Because, like, for
well,
me, the worst parts of the Wonder Woman, I've got notes about this. So when Wonder Woman's music goes,
oh, you're talking about this. Yeah, yeah.
I like that. I actually don't
Really?
mind that. Well, I don't hate it anyway. I don't like it, but I don't hate it. Like it was used quite well in Batman versus Superman, and so
Oh
I
God.
don't mind it so much. But what I do mind is the it's like
Just
really fucking annoying.
generally sounding foreign, strange music whenever she
Yeah.
arrives. Exotic stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
and
don't like that.
it's literally like anything every time she moves. Like, she just looks, someone says something intense and then you got a shot of Wonder Woman. And I'm like, why? Why? And then the final like decapitation of Steppenwolf. And because it's her who's doing it, the last thing Steppenwolf hears.
That's what killed him. It wasn't a
Yeah.
decapitation.
What a way to go. Nasty way to go, that.
Yeah. Did you watch the Wonder? Is there one film for Wonder Woman or two? I don't
There's
know.
2 Wonder Woman films.
And
I have seen both of them, but I actually don't remember the first one very well. All I remember from the first one is that David Thewlis is the bad guy.
I really like him. I saw his name
I love him.
on the credits. I was thinking, oh, cool. But then I don't think I ever
Yeah.
saw him in the entire thing. And I was like,
He-
I was waiting for him to show up.
He's in Wonder Woman 1. And like actually the scene where I feel like the movie actually gets bad when David Thewlis becomes like the big bad guy. Unfortunately, the third act is atrocious in Wonder Woman, but the first like hour of the movie being actually quite decent. But Wonder Woman 2, easily one of the worst films I've ever seen. Easily.
Is that the 84 version? Is that what it's
Yes.
called?
Yeah.
I thought the reviews were good for that one.
It is
good?
Easily the worst film. We could do an episode on that, Craig.
No,
I'll need
a break. I need a break of superhero stuff before we do another one.
Honestly, yes. I can't even pitch to you how bad this movie is. It's really unfair. I don't know how this movie got made as is. It's fucking terrible. Really bad. I don't understand how bad a movie can be and have so much money invested into it. It's terrible, man. Like the MacGuffin, because obviously you need a MacGuffin in all of these films. The MacGuffin in this one is like something that grants wishes. Mm-hmm. That's how bad we're getting with this. Like we're doing genies now. So the bad guy in Wonder Woman 2 or 1984, the bad guy in that wishes that he becomes the wishing thing. So now,
by the way,
whenever anyone wishes for something, he can make it come true, but then it's always to his benefit. And it's like, if you just kept the thing, you could have just kept wishing. Like, I don't get why you need it to become the thing. You're doing Jafar from Aladdin. It's fucking... And that's how he lost, because he became a genie.
Another thing, by the way, that happens in the bank robber scene, whatever.
Go on.
I've had 2 beers almost, so I'm going to get slurrier as I talk.
That's all right. I've had a vodka.
So there's like, after Wonder Woman has saved everybody, she goes over to some little girl who there's nothing really, like, they've just seen a lot of people murdered in front of them. And I don't know why she picks out this little girl, and I don't know if she touches her shoulder, but she crouches down to her, and the little girl says, "Can I be like you someday?" And why did you do that? You didn't have to add that in the film. You could have moved on. It was completely fine. Yeah. Shall we talk more about the other characters then? Since we started talking about characters, kinda.
I was going to say, I think we've had 2 Wonder Woman films and 2 other films with Wonder Woman, and this is the most we've ever seen Themyscira, the Wonder Woman, like, island. This is the most we see it in any of these films, and it's kind of crazy that even the Wonder Woman films don't want to spend much time there. And this film, like, as a set location, it comes up a lot in this movie. You know, we're there a few times, and we're there in a flashback as well. And I find it interesting that this film is the one where we spend most time there. It would be like making an Avengers movie set in Wakanda and Black Panther is in America. Like, you know, or taking Spider-Man out of New York, which they do in these new Spider-Man movies, by the way. The one with Mysterio, he isn't in New York, he's in Europe. I hate that. Spider-Man needs to be in New York for me, always. Anyway, that's a bit of a divergence.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just thought it was interesting that Themyscira was featured so prominently. And yeah, there was a scene where Steppenwolf shows up for the first time, and he's like killing everyone left, right, and center, and he's trying to chase the mother box. There was a shot, I don't really remember it quite well, but there was a shot where someone died, and we spent like a long time as the audience being made to watch this person die. And I wrote this note because it threw me off. I said, we're spending an awful lot of time living with the weight of the death of a character we know nothing about.
Yeah, I also thought a bit about this stuff, but I wasn't sure how established the characters were. Like when we went, like, it's interesting you mentioned this about Wonder Woman's place, where she came from, because I didn't know that it wasn't so featured in the Wonder Woman films. So when I see all these characters, I assume we've already seen them before. We know who they are. They've been in the other films. But yeah, it's interesting that you're saying
not to my knowledge, anyway. I think only the Queen which is Wonder Woman's mum. I think she's the only one that we really have seen in other media. I could be wrong, though. I could be wrong, but I didn't recognize anyone besides her, if I'm honest. So, God, this film's fucking long. So, what have I written down? Yeah, so the mother boxes. I thought it was interesting that the storyline for this film is like the mother boxes are like terraforming the world to be more like the planet Apocalypse, where Darkseid's from and Steppenwolf's from. So they're like terraforming the planet. What I find interesting about that is that's the exact plot of Man of Steel. I wrote this down. I was like, I swear this happens in Man of Steel, and it does. That's the whole point. The bad guy wants to turn Earth into a new Krypton. So it's like, yeah, okay, they're basically rehashing the plot of Man of Steel, which is weird. It's sort of like what Nolan did with his Batman trilogy, that like the first one and the third one kind of are very sort of, linked together and similar, whereas the middle one is very different. So I don't know if Snyder had intended on doing that, or maybe Nolan gave him a note here and there over the 3 films. I don't know.
Reuse your ideas. Make them, stretch them as long as you can.
But you want to talk about people in the film. What do you think of Alfred? Jeremy Irons.
So Jeremy Irons, I like that he did a different Alfred, because
me too.
He could easily have done what's his name?
Michael Caine.
Yeah, he could have done a Michael Caine. And also, by the way, Andy Serkis does a bit of a different Alfred in the Batman as well.
Yeah,
they're different Alfreds.
Yeah, but you know what? I don't think we can really comment much on Andy Serkis's Alfred, because we don't really see much of him in the Batman. I'd like more of him in the sequel. I want more Alfred in the sequel.
True, but his whole demeanor, his whole way of doing stuff, his whole way of acting around the guys and being helpful, but sometimes a bit overbearing, like when he's telling people how to make tea. He tells Wonder Woman at one point. It was just interesting, because you could have just made it the same. But yeah, I do like Jeremy Irons.
But I think Jeremy Irons is great as Alfred in Batman v Superman. I think in this you don't see too much of him. I think he's perfectly utilized in the previous film. I really want you to watch Batman v Superman. I like Jeremy Irons a lot in the previous one. In this one, I mean, he's just there sometimes, and he gives it. He's still great. He's still Jeremy Irons, but he's not used too much, I feel, or not enough. I want to see more Jeremy Irons. And Miles Dyson from Terminator 2 is in this. I don't know the actor's name, but I remember his name from Terminator 2. The guy in Terminator 2 is like, and then he blows everything up. Do you remember that guy?
I need more information, I think.
Oh, come on. If you don't know it from
Oh, is he the scientist guy? I see him. Joe Morton, it says his name is.
That his name.
I typed in Miles Dyson and it came up with him.
I just loved that they got someone from a Terminator film to be the father of Cyborg. I just love that little reference. It was not lost on me. Nice. Yeah, I really like that reference, because there's no way he would have got the job for any other reason. Like, there's no other reason. Like, you could have got any other actor to play that guy, but no, you got Miles Dyson, Terminator 2 alumni. I loved it. Yeah. I was very happy to see him there. It was not lost on me at all.
Speaking, by the way, of him, Joe Morton's character, who's the father of Cyborg, there's one bit, a naff bit again, another one, where he's leaving the office. Maybe it's the first time we see him at this crazy office place where all the American secret alien stuff is. And he's leaving, and there's a janitor mopping the floor. And what the fuck is he mopping, man? The floor has fucking holes in it. Like I swear, it's a grated floor. How the fuck can you? What is going on? Why is he mopping the floor? He can't do like
Oh,
if it was a flat surface, okay, maybe a bit bumpy, okay, but if it's a grated floor, you can't mop a grated floor. Like I just
I
like
mean,
why
I
was that
can't,
like
I
that?
can't, I can't say I noticed it, but I'm glad you noticed it because that's ridiculous. That's
Maybe I
mental.
was.
I'm gonna have to find it because that's brilliant.
It looked like a grated floor anyway. It looked like it was like there was
I mean,
holes. I don't know. Not a very
look,
hygienic.
it wouldn't surprise me that there's quite I can't remember what film it's from, but there's like a famous like movie bloop that made it into the film where like a movie extra in the background is pretending to sweep, but like if you look closely, the broom is like in the air and it's not on the floor at all, and it's like, what are you doing? But no one noticed it and it made it into the film. Um, so who else is there to talk about? I suppose we should talk about the main crew.
Yeah.
So we talked about Momoa. Uh, what's your thoughts on Ben Affleck Batman? He is my maybe it's hard to say favorite, but I really love his Batman.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe
I think Ben Affleck certainly in Batman v Superman, he is what I expect Batman to be when you watch the cartoons and the comics. If you
mm,
transition that into the real world, Ben Affleck's portrayal, even down to his physique, even his jawline, everything just screams Batman for me. And I didn't know that that's what I wanted until I saw him in Batman v Superman. And up until then, I was like, that's a terrible casting. And then I saw it and I'm like, no, this is, I think he might be my favorite Batman. Maybe. I think
that's
he's great
interesting
for
you say
Batman.
that.
Yeah,
I
I
think
know. No one agrees with me.
he's a bit bulkier and shorter than I kind of when I think of Batman. I don't
I
know.
like that. I like it though. I like it because it's like this is a more of a bruiser Batman. He's older, so he's not as agile and as less as he's not as agile and oh my god, and as athletic as he used to be. Jesus, that was rough. I'll leave that in. But yeah, like this is like older Batman that sort of relies more on brute force, and I like that. He's more of a
Okay,
bruiser, more of a street fighter.
actually, I did have a note on that, and I think I also did like that he was older. But he's not my favorite Batman still. I don't know.
Well, you're going to
Uh,
say Bale.
no, actually, I was gonna say Robert Pattinson in the last one. I really quite liked him as Batman. I didn't think
Yeah,
I
I
would. I
quite
thought
like
I was
him.
gonna hate him, but I actually ended up quite liking him. Uh, Affleck
Yeah, I
just
liked
feels a
him.
bit more wooden. I don't know, but maybe I haven't seen enough of him in Batman.
Oh,
But I do
I
like him as an
promise you,
older Batman, like a middle-aged Batman. Maybe that it does fit
I,
him. Yeah.
I really feel like his performance in Batman versus Superman is, you know, it's not like Oscar worthy or anything, but it's very Batman for me. What did you think of the bad guy Steppenwolf? And we'll talk about all the bad guys, but Steppenwolf is was an odd choice for a superhero like team up movie, the first Justice League movie, to pick a villain that no one had ever heard of except people who read the comics. I
Well,
thought was an interesting choice, and you still had people like Lex Luthor to pull from, and you could have done like I don't know Bizarro Superman or whatever. So to do like Steppenwolf, I thought was interesting.
I didn't know that he wasn't very well known.
You want what's popular, and like Steppenwolf is
True.
hardly popular even amongst comic book fans. Like that's how much of a deep cut it is. It's like, you know, when you heard, oh, and so is going to play Steppenwolf, I reckon people looked at each other like, who the fuck is Steppenwolf? Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, Loki, okay, people know who Loki is, even if you don't know Marvel Comics, you know Norse mythology. So you hear Loki's going to be the bad guy. All right. You hear Ultron is going to be the bad guy. And I would argue that DC have way more well known villains in their comic books. You know, you could have done a Joker movie. Like, you could have had Joker as the bad guy, getting together with Lex Luthor or something. I don't fucking know. But Steppenwolf, like, what a random character to pull from. You know, Bizarro Superman. There's a bunch of other fucking Brainiac you could have done. Brainiac would have been great. I would love to see Brainiac in a movie. He's a classic Superman villain.
I don't know any of these bad guys. I only know Lex Luthor and the Joker. Well, I don't know anyone else.
Well, then aren't you surprised that Lex Luthor and the Joker are only cameos in this movie?
Hi guys, this is the end of part 1. Listen to part 2 for the rest of our analysis of Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Shrapnel!